Passed through Cleveland and Gaston counties yesterday. Thousands of people still without power tonight. We saw downed trees, we saw hail, lightning, and lots of damage to homes. In fact, we broke into programming around 3 o'clock yesterday to warn you about the severity of these storms that were moving in. And one of the words you may have heard our meteorologist mention is velocity. Hey, Rachel, we want to know more about that. What's that all about? What does velocity mean in the context of these storms? And what are you looking for on the radar that differentiates maybe between a tornado and straight line winds?
And we had examples of both yesterday, and so that's what meteorologists Alicia Wilson, Lisa Viegas, and myself were looking at when we were looking at radar. Are we seeing winds that would indicate rotation that could allow for that potential for a tornado, or are we seeing the straight line winds? Certainly that can allow for excessive amounts of damage for a very long stretch of time. And I'm going to show you the difference here. Taking this big screen for you, just first and foremost, let's define what velocity is. And that's what you see there in the subtitle. It shows us the wind speed and wind direction. We technically don't even have velocity on our banners when we show you guys that. We just have wind speed and direction, because I think that gets to the brunt there of the definition. And on the right side of the banner, you see our color table. You've got winds that are moving towards the radar and winds that are moving away from the radar. This is so important for us to know where the radars are and where the winds are, what the winds are doing within these storms. And once you start to see, and for example, let's take the away from the radar example, and you see how it goes from red to pink to yellow. Keep that in mind. So let's start with the bottom left here, and let's talk about what we'd be looking for in a tornado. And I'm pulling real world examples. This is from yesterday's storms, what we were seeing on velocity. Let's start with Polkville. This is at 3 o'clock when we had a tornado touch down and start to cause damage in Cleveland County. It continued on for almost 45 minutes into Gaston County. And what I have circled there is what we were looking at velocity. If you're tuning in with meteorologist Alicia Wilson and myself, we were showing you this on air real time, and we were looking at how that green and the red were right up against each other. That means we have winds that are moving away and towards the radar right up against each other. That tells us these winds are rotating. We could have a tornado ongoing, and that's why the tornado warning was issued. Now let's talk about Charlotte in Mecklenburg County about an hour later on the right side of your screen, and I've got it circled there as well. There was not a tornado warning in place. There was a severe thunderstorm warning with a considerable damage tag in place, and it makes sense. Remember, I was talking about that legend. The more yellow you see there on your screen, the higher those wind gusts were. And when we saw that signature yesterday, we weren't thinking a tornado was taking place, but man, we knew that trees would be coming down, and indeed that was the case in those areas. That was right around 4:10, and I want to show you the difference in damage that we had. So with that left side of your screen where we had the rotating winds, that allowed for 2 tornadoes. We had the one that was from Polkville and then continued through about Cherryville, and then we had another one just north of Gastonia, continued to run parallel to I-85 to about Belmont, McAdenville, both of those EF1s. And then we had over 120 miles worth of damage reported, at least intermittently, from straight line winds. So it goes to show that whether you have those tornadoes, which can pack a punch and have really strong and intense winds for a small corridor, or straight line winds, which you can get 60, 70, 80 mile per hour wind gusts for an extended period of time, either way, it's going to cause damage. And that's exactly what we had yesterday, Jamie.
Yeah, so don't let your guard down. If it just says thunderstorm warning, it can be easy for us to go, not a big deal.
Exactly. And
Proof
we were
positive.
talking about that yesterday,
Right.
how take both your severe thunderstorm warning and tornado warning, just as you would a tornado warning, because of the damage that we were expecting.
Great information, Rachel. Thank you. Appreciate it.